Good morning, everyone. Uh, Today, I want to talk to you about the word acceptance. And I'm really excited for this topic because by far the word acceptance is the number one most misunderstood concept out there. And it's also the most important for achieving anything that's meaningful or just living a very fulfilling kind of life. So, I want to talk about what acceptance is, what it isn't, and give you an idea of how this can show up in your life. So, first of all, many of the things that we struggle with, many of the ways that we stop ourselves in life, come from our attempts to try and avoid certain things that we just don't want to experience. So, I'm going to give you a number of examples here. Uh, Avoiding work because you feel unmotivated or overwhelmed. Staying in a relationship because you don't want to deal with the pain of the breakup or the feeling of being alone, or avoiding getting into a relationship because you've been through something in the past that has made it very difficult for you to trust, and it brings up a lot of very fearful feelings for you. All the way to getting takeout instead of cooking because it's easier, or avoiding the workout you really need to do because you have to sweat and it feels hard, down to like the pile of paperwork that's sitting in the corner of the room that you can't be bothered to take care of because it's just exhausting to think about. So, the one thing that all of these examples have in common is it just goes beyond our willingness because we have to deal with thoughts and emotions that we just don't want to have to deal with. They're painful or they're uncomfortable. So, but this is, I think you can see how, okay, once in a while to avoid things, no big deal. But if it's a pattern, then, you know, we can really add more problems to the situation, and we can really stop ourselves in life because now we're not having the fulfilling relationship or the success in our career or the body that we want, for example. So this is what happens when acceptance is missing, and it's why it's so important, but it's also where the misunderstanding about acceptance begins. So when I say the word acceptance, it can sound a lot like, just grin and bear it, suck it up, get over it, let whatever happens be okay, and just embrace everything. And that's not acceptance. So I'm not talking about anything that's happening in the outside world, the situation, the circumstances. If you're in a situation where you're being discriminated against, for example, or somebody's treating you badly, or you're in a job that you hate, absolutely not talking about accepting the circumstances. All acceptance is referring to is what's showing up inside your own skin. So this is our internal experience that we're talking about here, because life brings us moments where sometimes we're going to have lots of thoughts and emotions that we really don't want to have, but it's also a part of being human. So that is what we're talking about with acceptance. And the most helpful way to think about it for me, anyways, is to think about it like trudging through mud. So if I imagine that I'm walking through the woods and I come across this area which is just like up to my knees in mud, and it's gross, it's smelly. There's things under the mud that I can't even see, but I know that they're there, and it's scary. But where I want to go requires me to go through it, to get in physical contact with this disgusting, scary stuff in order to get to what's on the other side. And so life presents moments that are a lot like that, where these very painful or uncomfortable thoughts and emotions show up, and they're a lot like that mud. And um, the question is, are we willing to, go through that and be in contact with that stuff? Not necessarily like it or want it, and not for the sake of it, but in order to move toward what is important to us, that's on the other side. So, what if that relationship you want requires you to deal with conflict or feel a bunch of scary, uncomfortable things? What if your goal or the project that you want to achieve requires you to wade through being outside your comfort zone and deal with all these unforeseen obstacles that are popping up from under the mud? Can we approach these moments in life the way we might approach coming across this area in the woods, which is up to our knees in mud? Can we be willing to experience this stuff for the sake of getting to what is on the other side? And just again, it's not acceptance of the circumstances. So if you are in a situation where somebody's treating you badly, for example, this may mean being willing to deal with all the uncomfortable, confusing emotions so that you can address the situation and stand up for yourself and deal with the problem. So, I hope that gives you an idea of what acceptance is and what it isn't, because I work with a lot of people who come in thinking that acceptance is like, just like endlessly understanding another person's point of view and putting up with whatever. And it has nothing to do with the outside circumstances or other people. It has to do with what's showing up inside our own skin and doing what we need to do in order to live the kind of life we want. So that's my spiel on acceptance. Hope it was helpful. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you enjoyed this episode, please write a review or share this with other people who may be needing to hear this message today. All right, y'all. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you soon.